Hey guys, before this collaboration gets underway, I would like to thank Nathan Duce TV for his work on this video and the amazing job that he did. He is new to YouTube, and I know he's really well on his way to growing a massive following. He has a great voice and really puts the work in. Make sure you all go to his channel and subscribe. Show your support that I know the SInful Nation is all capable of. Without any further ado, let's do this. Around March of 2014, I started talking to this girl on Tinder. She seemed cool and fun, and after about a week of talking, she suggested we meet up in person. She invited me to this coffee shop and I accepted. However, the day of, she started messaging me saying she had to tell me something. Her pictures on Tinder weren't actually of her, and yes, she was a guy. He claimed he really liked talking to me though, and begged me to still meet up with him. Naturally, I declined. I blocked his profile and continued on with my life. About a week later, I started talking to another girl. Once again, she seemed cool and fun, and we hit it off. She asked me if I spoke to people on Tinder frequently, and rather stupidly, I told her about my previous encounter with the man lady. Weeks later, I would realize that this new girl was the same girl as the week before. She asked me if I wanted to meet up, and I said sure, as long as it was in a public place. We decided on a cafe, and the next day I sat at the table waiting. 5, 10, 15 minutes had passed, and she was nowhere to be found. I then peered out the window and saw, from across the street, a man staring at me intently. I looked away, waited a few seconds and looked back. He was still standing there staring. At that point, I left the cafe, got on my bike, I always bike everywhere, and I booked it home. I was definitely a little freaked out, but tried to pull myself together, and reasoned that no one could have followed me. I then deleted my Tinder profile. Things were normal after that for a few weeks. About 3 weeks later, I started getting phone calls. The numbers all showed up as unknown. I picked up the first few times to some guy breathing heavily into the phone. I was already a little freaked out. After about a day, I stopped picking up any calls unless it displayed the caller's name. I then started receiving texts. At first they were pretty harmless, calls for attention and begging me to meet in person. It then changed to very sexual texts, until eventually the messages became threatening. And whoever was messaging me started throwing out my family and my friends' names and whereabouts, saying he or she would get them involved unless I answered. Because they were texting me, I could see a displayed number. But when I called phone providers, they told me the number couldn't be traced, and that it was probably a track phone. Great. I started getting upwards of 50 texts and phone calls a day. I would wake up to 10 to 20 texts every morning. I then decided to change my number altogether. The texting calls stopped for a while, but sure enough, it started happening again. I called my phone provider asking if they ever gave out numbers at a user's request, and they said their policy stated that they wouldn't or couldn't unless valid identification was provided. Then one day, I tried logging into my Facebook, but was denied. Within a few days, a friend started contacting me, asking me what the hell I was doing, saying that they were getting terrible messages from my account. In particular, one of my girlfriends was receiving messages about her mom who died years ago. I apologized profusely and told people what was going on. I contacted Facebook and explained the situation, and they helped me access my account again, at which point I deactivated it for a while. Enough was enough. I decided to contact the FBI, explaining what had been going on for over a month now. They documented everything but told me, since I or any of my relatives or friends were in no immediate danger, they probably wouldn't be able to do anything. At that point, I felt stuck. I thought about hiring a private investigator or a hacker. I decided against it, however, and just hoped it would fade out if I never answered. I left my Facebook deactivated and ignored any texts or phone calls. I never had any trouble at home, but some of my closest friends received the occasional text as well, which weirded us all out. I hated that they got dragged into it. One day I came home and things felt very eerie. Door unlocked, windows open, and no one home. A strong breeze running through the apartment. I did a check of the place and found nothing else weird, so I locked everything up and just waited for my roommates to get home. It's been almost 7 months now. The calls and texts have more or less stopped. I'll get an occasional text, at the most, it's only every 2 weeks. At the peak of it, I was receiving almost 100 texts a day. It definitely affected my social and personal life. I became much more weary of the people around me and surroundings. I just felt like I couldn't really focus on anything until this stopped. Work was difficult, though I tried to maintain my composure as best I could. Everything was just weird. Life was weird. I've since stopped using all forms of dating apps and websites. Things are getting back to normal, and at this point, I just want to put it all behind me. I'm moving at the end of this year, so it will be nice to have a fresh start in a new place. I'm not going to sit here and say all dating apps are dangerous and no one should use them, but definitely cover your bases. Ask more questions before meeting someone. FaceTime them first. Skype, anything. I was naive about it, and I regret it. Be safe, stick close to your friends, and try meeting people in more traditional ways.
I use Tinder pretty frequently, and it's usually cool. Just meeting people, chilling, smoking with most of them. So I matched with this dude named Charlie, and he seems cool. He's really cute, and he plays music, which is really appealing to me as I also sing and play the piano. We talked for a little while, and I agreed to meet him at his house. Mistake number 1. Why did I think it was a good idea to meet a stranger in their home? I don't drive, so I take an Uber over, and it's a decent way away, so it's kinda pricey. When he buzzes me into the apartment complex, I get this really creepy vibe, but I just shook it off as nerves. I go up to the 3rd floor, and he's standing at the door. Things are cool. We're just chilling, smoked a little bit, and we're watching a movie. So he makes a move on me, and I go with it. We end up on the bed, and we're obviously engaging in adult activities. When out of nowhere he wraps his hands around my neck. Hard. Now that's all fine and good with me. I mean, I can dig that in the right setting. But alone, in a stranger's house, when he didn't even check to see if it was cool, is not one of those settings. So I literally cannot breathe. And I'm fairly certain I'm turning blue at this point. And he is just relentless. Not only is he strangling me, he's now yelling in my face.
Are you scared?
With this wild look in his eyes. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm scared. You're trying to kill me. I started to struggle, and he was gripping even harder. I'm not kidding you guys. I seriously thought I was going to die. By some miracle, I wriggle out of his grasp and start screaming. He's yelling at me to calm down, and I'm frantically trying to put on my clothes. He grabs my wrist as I'm trying to leave, and I use all my strength to pull away and slam the door. I get home and I look in the mirror, and I have a lot of bruises on my neck. I try and cover it up with makeup, but it's useless. I straight up look like I was almost strangled to death. Anyways, I blocked him and reported him on Tinder. I wish I could have done more, because I seriously think he would have killed me. I've been debating going to the police, but the bruises are gone, and it's more of a he said she said thing, but I'm really starting to wonder if I should, because the next girl might not be so lucky.
Thanks for watching, guys. Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the SInful Nation and Nathan Duce TV. His channel link is in the info box below. Make sure to check him out. Until we meet again, stay sinful.